Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So Tarek and continuing series, who's Nintendo trying to sue or screw this week, and unfortunately this one is extra disgusting, even for Nintendo, and honestly, you know I like to have fun with these videos, kind of tell a joke here or there, but what Nintendo's doing on this one just absolutely makes me so annoyed. It's basically a company that is a multi-billion-dollar a year company picking on their fans for no reason other than they feel like they need to control absolutely everything. They're basically gaslighting the entire gaming community into thinking they're doing you a favor by even letting you give them money for their games at some points in time. We've gone over all of the Power World lawsuit, and honestly, that's just $1 billion company suing another $1 billion company. Sure, Nintendo looks bad when they do it. They don't have much of a case whatsoever, but it's really hard to quote-unquote feel bad for Pocket Pair because, again, they are billionaires, at least the shareholders and the people that own the company. And while Pocket Pair and Power World really haven't done anything wrong whatsoever, it's kind of hard to feel for $2 billion companies going head-to-head, even if one is right and one's just trying to pick on a competitor. But Nintendo has jumped the shark on this one. They are forcing a Japanese speedrunning community that holds events just like Games Done Quick does in Japan to license the usage of every single Nintendo game they want to speedrun in Japan because they are a non-profit and not an individual. To say that Nintendo is killing people's joy would be an understatement. They took that joy out back and old yellowed it behind the shed and then basically threw it into a wood chipper and buried the resulting body dust and chum in a 6-foot gunmark grave. It is absolutely disgusting that Nintendo does stuff like this. Honestly, there's two different Nintendos, footage very much intended here, the Nintendo that makes the bright, cheery, fun games everyone loves to play, and the corporate Nintendo that will kneecap you for even so much as looking at them crossways. It is absolutely insane that Nintendo is now basically forcing a speedrunning community in Japan, and Japan's largest speedrunning community at that, to request individual licenses to speedrun their games at their events. That means Nintendo probably is looking to get paid for the usage of this, and this is all over the news now. I was going to make a video for last night, but it came out a little bit late. But you will see here, officials at the RTA, that speedrunning community in Japan, Nintendo wants the speedrunning community group to apply for licensing agreements for each individual Nintendo game moving forward. So Nintendo wants them to license every single game that they might speedrun, and you'll see here if we actually go over to the tweet, this is when it first came out, and honestly people noticed this on the 4th. It is the 5th I'm making this video, and the 6th you're going to see it. And I did a video previously saying that Nintendo's community guidelines are absolutely gross. They're basically trying to over-control the free promotion of their games, because trust me, speedrunning makes people want to go play these games. Speedrunning makes Nintendo fans more of Nintendo fans, and they love to see this stuff. And just recently at Summer Games Done Quick, there was not one, not two, but like 12 different Nintendo games in the runs, and they had some of the biggest crowds, and people absolutely love them. Now unfortunately, at least in Japan now, the largest speedrunning community is not going to be able to play Nintendo games, and who knows if Nintendo will ever grant them a license. All this states is that they need to seek a license from Nintendo, but Nintendo can decide whether or not to actually grant that license, and how gross is that? Now, if we take a look at this statement here, RTA is a legal entity. They are a non-profit, but of course that is a company, not an individual, and Nintendo does not like the fact that they're in fact a company and not just an individual person. So I'm not going to say Nintendo's going to go after you for speedrunning a game and posting it on YouTube. I'm saying they might go after somebody like Games Done Quick for doing the exact same thing. And we've seen Nintendo continue to go after these larger companies. As soon as you get big, if you're doing something that Nintendo doesn't think you should be doing, they're going to nail your ass to the wall with every single law and lawsuit they can possibly imagine. And RTA incorporated themselves back in 2020. It was only in 2025 that Nintendo even decided to come a-calling. That was probably because the event got too big for Nintendo's liking, the same way that stuff like Pocket Pair's original games had the same gameplay mechanics that Nintendo is suing Power World for, and that's just because the company hadn't gotten that big yet. And that really is the thing. Nintendo likes to change the rules. They like to kind of mess with people once they've gotten to a certain status or a certain stature within the gaming community, and that's when Nintendo decides to kick them back down the ladder and make sure they're completely screwed over. I guess at this point in time, at least RTA wasn't sued for multiple millions of dollars from Nintendo, because honestly, if Nintendo felt like it, they could probably financially bury this company as well as anyone involved in it. And again, that is just disgusting and gross to me. Nintendo's entire job is to make people have fun. They create video games so you can sit down and enjoy your time, have a little bit of escapism from the world you live in, and just have a smile on your face. And it really is hard to do something like that when you realize Nintendo is now not allowing the biggest Japanese speedrunning event to run Nintendo games. That's not just killing the fun, it's setting it on fire with a gallon of gasoline. And like I said, nothing's guaranteeing that these will actually get licensed in the future, Nintendo could just keep saying no. They could say, we want $100,000 per game that you want to run. And the question is, how far is Nintendo going to run with this? Because obviously Games Done Quick is a US-based company, but if Nintendo decided tomorrow to say to them, you cannot run any Super Nintendo games, any N64 games, or any other Nintendo games that Nintendo makes, what would they do with this event? Because those are obviously some of the biggest ones. When I actually went to capture the website, in about 10 minutes, they were actually going to do a little hotfix of Super Mario 64, a blindfolded 50-star run. Now what happens tomorrow if Nintendo says to GDQ, we will no longer allow you to exhibit Nintendo-made games on your channel on Twitch or at your events without our express written permission. And if you take a look at their most recent schedule for Femme Fatales coming up in September, there are a metric crap ton of Nintendo games being run. If I was GDQ, I would be absolutely worried that Nintendo's going to come after them next. And don't forget, every dollar that GDQ makes goes to support charities, cancer preventative research, as well as Doctors Without Borders. These people aren't making money off these events, they're funding charity. But honestly, I don't think anybody at Nintendo Corporate of Japan or any of their lawyers would lose any sleep whatsoever if they realized they're making it harder to fund cancer research or to give money to Doctors Without Borders. It just doesn't seem like the type of thing that Nintendo's going to be upset about. They want things their way come hell or high water, and that's what's going to happen. And you'll see here after 2025 summer, which is basically now, they're going to have to look for those licenses. It'll be interesting to report on this in the future to find out what it is. But again, Nintendo could be so cool about this. They could just say, thank you so much for giving our games a spotlight. We hope you have a great event. Could we send some promotional material along for the ride? Could we be there promoting the community, the fans that love our games and helped us become the Nintendo that we are today? Because Nintendo absolutely forgets the people that are at these events are the ones that buy absolutely everything Nintendo. They're the reason they went from that small card making company to the absolute massive international juggernaut that is Nintendo today. Nintendo is a cultural icon. Everyone knows them the world over. If you live in some far-flung corner of the world where they don't even have a Switch 2, you probably still know who Mario is. And Nintendo takes all of that goodwill and just basically puts it in the garbage disposal, pisses in it, and then hits the switch so that it all gets ground up into absolute shit going down the pipe. Pun very much intended for our fat Italian plumber. Sometimes Nintendo acts more like a mafia than it does a video game company, and I really don't know why they have that culture. They could be so fun, they could make people love them, they could be one of the cool companies that lets you do what you want with their stuff so long as you're not stepping on their toes too hard. And again, you will see here RTA established back in 2022 as a non-profit entity, so it's been 5 years since this happened, and Nintendo just decides this year is the time that they decide to bother them, and it makes perfect sense why you would incorporate into a non-profit, and it's explained here in this background of the establishment document that RTA put up. One of the main reasons is just the finances, and the second one is, and it is very similar to my industry, if you are not a business, if you don't have a business license, a lot of people won't rent to you. If I need to rent a $50,000 cinema lens for a shoot, me the individual is going to have a hard time doing it in Chicago, but me the corporate entity who's a filmmaker for a living has business insurance, and I can go in there and rent that thing all day long. Nobody bats an eyelash because I am a quote-unquote company, not an individual, and I can be trusted. Now, should I be trusted anymore with that license? Probably not. I'm responsible whether or not I'm a business, but it's just how things work, so it makes perfect sense. But Nintendo doesn't want you to look at Mario not unless they're getting their money and not unless they're controlling things the exact way that they want. Nothing less will matter. And it's just gross, honestly. That's kind of the takeaway here. I know I poke fun at Nintendo and I poke fun at companies that do anti-consumer things and anti-fan things, but this one, honestly, just grosses me out completely. Just let people have fun, Nintendo. I know you don't listen to these videos, but I know the people that watch them play these games because they want to have joy in their life. They want to have a little bit of sunshine on a cloudy day, for lack of a better term. But Nintendo basically fills that cloud up with piss and then they rain it down upon you and they tell you should open your mouth, drink it up, smile, and be happy, and don't forget, give them another $80 for whatever game they shit out next, and that is what really is annoying to me. This company is just gross from start to finish. I understand all of the bricking of the consoles, the soft blocks, things like that. You can kind of understand around the edges why Nintendo might want to do that, but banning speedrunners in Japan, the country of origin for Nintendo, just for celebrating their games and showing them played at a high level, that's the type of thing Nintendo feels like doing right now. Maybe they should spend a little bit more time making some more fun games and a little less time trying to annoy absolutely every single fan of the company out there. This is just a downer to me. It is an absolute bummer. I'm completely negative on this video, and I still hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next time, and hopefully something Nintendo does is cool. Bye-bye.